All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a book that seems to call for the total destruction of government, law, and, well, society itself. But this foundational text of political philosophy is holding a pretty big secret.
So check out this quote from a 1756 text called A Vindication of Natural Society. The guy who wrote it, who was anonymous at the time, basically argues that from the very beginning, what he calls artificial society, and that just means any organized state, is fundamentally corrupt, oppressive, and violent.
So who do you think is behind this? I mean, who would write something so radical, especially back in the mid-18th century? Maybe some kind of early anarchist? A revolutionary just waiting to light the fuse? Get this. The answer is Edmund Burke. Yes, that Edmund Burke, the philosophical father of modern conservatism. This is the man whose name is practically synonymous with tradition, order, and defending the status quo. So what is going on here?
Okay, so to figure this out, let's just dive into the book's arguments. We're going to take them at face value for a second, just to see how truly wild they are, especially coming from a guy like Burke.
I mean, this book just goes through and torches every single form of government you can think of. Monarchy? Nope, it just turns into tyranny. Aristocracy? That just becomes a squabbling club for the rich. Democracy? It's chaotic and violent. Even a mixed government, like the one in Britain, is dismissed as a total mess of corruption and gridlock. Basically, every path leads to misery.
And really, the core idea boils down to this simple but explosive claim. The very idea of government, of subjecting yourself to someone else's authority, is the root of all evil. It's the original sin of politics and the source of all our suffering.
And this is where it gets absolutely insane. To drive the point home, the book literally calculates that organized society is to blame for the deaths of, get this, over 35 billion people throughout history. That's a number, it says, that's more than 70 times the entire population of the planet at the time.
So this brings us right back to the big question, right? The arguments are so fierce, so total in their rejection of everything. How could the founder of conservatism possibly believe this stuff? Was he secretly an anarchist? Okay, but the key to solving this whole mystery isn't what he wrote, it's why he wrote it. We're about to pull back the curtain on one of the cleverest intellectual head fakes in the history of philosophy.
You see, the whole thing, it's not real. A Vindication of Natural Society isn't a serious political argument. It's one giant, brilliant piece of satire. It's a parody designed to make someone else's ideas look completely ridiculous.
Right, so if he's not actually attacking society, who's in the crosshairs? His real target was an incredibly popular philosopher at the time named Lord Bolingbroke, whose writings had just been published and were a huge deal.
And this is where Burke's move is just genius. See, Bolingbroke was famous for using pure, abstract logic, what he called natural reason, to attack artificial religion, by which he meant the established church. So Burke just takes that exact same playbook, mimics his style perfectly, and turns that weapon against government itself.
And this is how we get to Burke's real point. This isn't just a clever takedown of one philosopher. It's a huge warning about a certain type of thinking that was getting very popular during the Enlightenment. This idea of pure rationalism.
What Burke was really afraid of was what happens when you let abstract logic run wild, completely disconnected from, real-life tradition and human experience. He saw it as a destructive force that, once you started, has no logical place to stop. Burke's satire shows you exactly how this dangerous logic works. He's basically saying to Bolingbroke's fans, hey, if you love this method for tearing down religion, then you have to follow it all the way. By that same logic, you have to tear down the state, the law, property, everything. Where does it end?
Yeah, for Burke, this kind of thinking wasn't some high-minded philosophy. He thought it was just a mess, a ridiculous mix of intellectual arrogance and popular assumptions, all just pretending to be wisdom.
And that's why this book, this little piece of satire, is so incredibly important. It's not just some funny thing he did as a young man. It is the blueprint for the massive political and philosophical ideas that would define his entire career. Ideas that are still incredibly relevant today.
And you know what? Burke turned out to be shockingly right. In 1756, he writes this as a warning. Fast forward about 30 years,
Boom, the French Revolution kicks off, trying to do exactly what he warned against, rebuilding a whole society based on abstract ideas. And that's when he writes his most famous work, Reflections on the Revolution in France, making the exact same argument from his satire, only this time he wasn't joking at all.
So, this whole clever setup, it basically became the foundation of modern conservative thought, and it still shapes our political debates. It's that deep skepticism of radical, utopian plans, that focus on tradition, slow change, and practical experience, and, most of all, a warning against trying to tear down things that work, even if they're imperfect, in the name of some perfect theory.
And that's the thing. Burke's Secret Takedown, this book that pretends to be one thing while being something else entirely, leaves us with a critical question that is just as relevant today as it was then. When we see real problems in our society, how do we know where to draw the line between fixing them and just wrecking everything?
This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.